Chapter 15. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield, and thy exceeding great reward. And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus? And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad, and said, Look now toward heaven, and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto them, So shall thy seed be. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that bought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees, to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, Take me an heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another. But the birds divided he not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcass, Abram drove them away. And when the fowls came down upon the carcass, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the 4th generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And it came to pass, that when the sun went down, and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace, and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. The Kenites, and the Kenizzites, and the Cadmonites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Rephaims, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. So, to recap chapter 15, verse 1, God spoke to Abram in a vision, told him not to fear. God identified himself as Abram's shield and Abram's exceedingly great reward. What he's saying here is God is telling Abram that he's been protecting and blessing him. Fear not. Verse 2, Abram wanted children, but had none. A non-relative managed his household affairs. God tells now 75 plus year old Abram that he still will produce a child himself from his own body. God also told Abram that his lineage will be as numerous as the stars in the sky. God reminds Abram he was bought out of Ur to inherit the land that he's in. Abram asked God, how will he know? Chapter 15, verse 9, God asked for a specific sacrifice from a 3-year-old female cow. That's what a heifer is. A 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, 1 turtle dove, 1 young pigeon. Also, it says here they were organized all against each other, but the birds he divided not. So maybe they were spaced out, but against each other seems like they would literally be against each other. But that's 15 verse 9. Fowls or meat-eating birds came to eat the offering that Abram set out. He had to drive them away. Chapter 15, verse 12 and 13. Abram fell asleep, and God told him that his seed will be enslaved in a foreign land for over 400 years. God tells Abram in the dream that he'll judge the nation that Abram's descendant serves, and that Abram's descendant will come out of captivity wealthy. Great substance means wealth. It says here that the descendant will go to their fathers in peace and will be buried in a good old age. But then, in verse 16, in the descendant's fourth generation, there will be more conflict because the wickedness of the Amorites is not yet full, meaning that they will cause more wickedness. So the fourth generation of this descendant that escapes captivity will have conflict again. But this is his dream, so just want to put that in there. May not be that clear because it's a dream. Then in verse 17, it says, when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, or observe a smoking furnace and a burning lamp. So it says it moved through or passed in between those pieces. So this will be significant as a prophecy in the future, but verse 17 is when that dream is over. So dreams aren't always they're not always as obvious with what the meaning is, and they're not always as organized as maybe we would expect information to be. By verse 18, the dream is over. God made a covenant with Abram, giving Abram's seed the land from Egypt to the Euphrates and power over the 10 groups of people inhabiting the land. And so the wickedness of the Amorites in verse 16 will be an instrumental part of Abram's descendant in the fourth generation after escaping 400 years of captivity. The fourth generation of that descendant will have power over the 10 groups of people inhabiting that land. Okay, thank you for watching, and we will be moving on to chapter 16.